missing 12-year-old Lori Page.
A missing little girl has been found. Her name was Lori Page, and she was only 12 years old. She disappeared without a trace. Her father was the one who first reported her missing, but now that same man is behind bars, charged with her murder.
I told you 2 years ago that we would find who did this, and we would arrest them and bring them to justice. And today, I stand before you to tell you we have done just that.
Now Lori can rest in peace, and the man accused of stealing her young life is sitting in a jail cell. I'm Kennedy Walker, and I'll walk you through the details. You may be asking, how does a story like this begin? How does a father go from searching for his daughter to being accused of taking her life? To find those answers, we have to go back to Tallahassee, Florida. It's summer, June 3rd, 2023. The sun is out, kids are playing, and somewhere in the middle of it all, a little girl named Lori vanished. Her father, Andrew Wiley, was the one who called police. He claimed Lori left home sometime overnight with her backpack while he was at work. But behind the scenes, investigators say his story did not sit right, and over time, it only got worse. Within the first year of her disappearance, detectives still had no sign of Lori, and Wiley's version of events were allegedly starting to fall apart. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, Lori had been living a troubled life long before she went missing. A teacher described her as kind, intelligent, and attentive in class. But behind her good grades and polite smile was a quiet sadness. A school paraprofessional told the paper that Lori had previously been in custody of the Department of Children and Families. In just 1 month before she disappeared, she reportedly ran away from home. She was later found at an apartment complex pool. One teacher reportedly recalled one time Lori showed up to school barefoot. Her father was called, and he came to get her. When Lori disappeared, it rattled the community. Search efforts kicked into high gear, but still no trace. Month after month passed. The FBI even offered a $15,000 reward for any information that might bring her home. They knocked on doors across 3 different states where Lori had family. They brought in cadaver dogs, but still nothing. 8 months into the search, and the Tallahassee Police Department launched a grid search. That means investigators methodically combed through a large stretch of land, one section at a time. Dozens of officers and firefighters joined the effort. It was the 5th time they'd searched that same area, but this time they had more hands. Police said there were a few unique challenges in Lori's case. Like, she only lived in Tallahassee for about a year, so she hadn't formed many routines or relationships that could help detectives. Next, she vanished during the summer, which meant no school patterns to track. And perhaps the most difficult obstacle, she didn't have a cell phone. So that means no digital footprint, no pings, and no social media. But then everything changed.
We have recovered Lori's remains, and we have arrested the person responsible.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julie Montanaro.
And I'm Jacob Murphy. We're sitting down one-on-one with Tallahassee's Police Chief Lawrence Revel just days after he announced an arrest in the disappearance and death of missing 12-year-old Lori Page.
Her father, Andrew Wiley, is now charged with her murder. Our Stacey Inez is live at TPD headquarters right now. And Stacey, you had a chance to have an extended conversation with the chief today. What did he say about this 2-year-long case?
Well, Julie, the chief says they are, on one hand, glad to hopefully bring some closure to the family in terms of finding her. But he says as for the father, family are often considered suspects in these types of cases. So he says when the father's story began falling apart, that's when they really began to hone in on the possibility of a murder charge.
There's certainly the sadness in confirming what we believe to be true. There's always still the sadness that a 12-year-old child was killed.
Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel reflects on the past week since announcing Lori Page's remains were found in South Georgia, ending a nearly 2-year search spanning multiple states.
There was always the hope and the expectation that you were going to find something.
He says while they developed evidence pointing to Lori's father, Andrew Wiley, more than a year ago, they did not want to make an arrest without finding her body.
A lot of times we look at it, hey, we've got probable cause, we can make an arrest, you know. But the state attorney has to look at it from not only do we have probable cause, but how likely are we to get a conviction on this? Because we don't want to try this and not get a conviction and then find out evidence later that he did do it, and now you can't, because of double jeopardy, you can't try him again.
When Lori first disappeared in June 2023, she was originally classified as a runaway. a practice Chief Revel says his department will not use again.
Because it brings additional connotations into the discussion that just don't need to be part of the discussion. You know, again, that classification, while unnecessary and we don't use it anymore, didn't hamper this investigation.
Tallahassee pastor Rudy Ferguson was one of a few community members who were vocal throughout the entire search for Lori.
That could have been mine. That could have been my grandchild, could have been my daughter, or my next door neighbor's child.
He says he's still trying to process Lori's death and her father's arrest after meeting him multiple times.
I was more concerned that he wasn't as emotional and worried as I would have been as a father. In that time of talking to him, I was still supportive that he was a father. He didn't know how to process this. But as time went on, 30 days and 60 days, and his response to me was still the same. It began to worry me.
Now he's looking forward, hoping to help prevent situations like this in the future.
We just got to figure out how do we become a better community and how do we pay attention to the trauma situations that surround us every day.
Now, as for the investigation, Chief Revel says it's still ongoing, and investigators haven't yet determined the cause of death for Lori. Her father remains in jail without bond. For now, live in Tallahassee, Stacey Inez, WCTV Eyewitness News.
All right, Stacey, thank you. And as we learn more about that investigation and follow Wiley's case through the court system, you can get alerts about the latest updates by downloading our free WCTV News app. You can scan the code you see on your screen to download the app for free.
Out of a lot of the cases that I've worked and, helped family with and everything, reading this police report regarding Lori Page and her father, Andrew Wiley, she went missing back in 2023. That broke my heart. Pissed me off, but it also broke my heart. That report is 66 pages long. And the more you read, the more disturbing that it gets, but it also reveals a lot of things. Not only Andrew, her father, but also, other people that was listed in that report, including his brother, Antoine Wiley. He needs to be locked up also. And at the time that myself and Drake, we started talking about this, because a lot of people weren't really talking about it. We started talking about this, looking into it and everything. And, seeing now, they listed her as missing. She was reported missing on June the 3rd, 2023. But he actually disposed of her body on June the 1st, 2023. And that entire time, a lot of people were going for the mother. And the entire time, she was like, something is wrong. Something is wrong with he done did something to my daughter. She kept trying to get the police to understand that, and they kept saying they don't suspect any kind of foul play. And it wasn't until we started really talking about it, voicing our opinions about it and crying aloud about it is when they actually picked it back up and saw that the mother was telling the truth. And this sick monster, he violated his daughter, got her pregnant, then he unalived her because the plan B that he bought for her did not work. And if you remember earlier this month on the 5th of April, that's when they found partial remains of a teenage female, right? And it took them that long, and they found it back last year. But, they started finding bones and everything, but then they found some other remains, a partial skull, and they were able to identify, that it was Lori Page. I mean, this monster went through all kinds of twists and turns in order to get rid of all the evidence. I mean, he factory reset all the cell phones. They lied and said that she didn't have any kind of social media presence and all that stuff, but as the police dug deeper, they started finding out a whole lot more stuff. And like I tell people, you can delete a phone. You can delete anything on the phone, but they're going to find it. And what he did, all the way from Florida, all the way to Thomas County, Georgia, is where he buried her body in a wooded area. If you remember that news clip that was on there, when he buried her body and everything, right? And there were things that he purchased, they tracked him. Things that he purchased and everything that let them know that he did ABUSE her. And he had planned on leaving the country, not the state. He had planned on leaving the country. Yes, he had all that right there planned out. And the reason I said his brother needs to be arrested also is because his brother was trying to cover for him. His brother tried to get his vehicle from out of impound. He tried to get a hold of all his other stuff and everything. He knew what was going on. I don't care what anybody will say. He knew what was going on. And from what I'm understanding, this is allegedly the brother works in the police department. This baby was failed all the way around. All the way around. Everybody that she was in the care of, people that were around her. The only people that really tried to take up for her and try to do something for her was people at her school, some of her friends, but especially one of the teachers. They tried to help this girl out, but wasn't nobody listening. And it was sad because the police department pushed it to the side and said, oh, she's a runaway. She's a runaway. There's no foul play. We don't suspect anything. And for that whole time, they kept saying there's no foul play. And it was. And now we're here.
Good morning, y'all. It's very unfortunate that I woke up to one of my followers sending me a video having to do with this beautiful young lady. Her name is Lori. 2 years ago, She came up missing. She was 12 at the time. Bro, I feel myself getting emotional. 2 years ago, she was 12. She came up missing. On April 11th, her father, he killed her. He unalived his own child. She looked just like me.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are watching this video. This is a case that I have not heard about Lori Page when she went missing in 2023. This type of missing persons did not spread worldwide or get national notoriety. And this girl is just out there in the woods somewhere until now that she is found and her father has been charged with her murder. This is a nasty, disgusting man. I heard per rumor that she got pregnant. That's why he decided to kill her, because she wanted to live. She told her mother she wanted to live with her father. But that just ended in disaster. After nearly 2 years, the search for Lori Page ended in the woods of South Georgia. All that remained of the missing 12-year-old were 2 small bones. The discovery became the crucial piece of evidence that led to the arrest of her father after months of growing suspicion by the Tallahassee Police Department. Detectives traced her disappearance to the underbrush of a wooded area in Thomas County, Georgia, and found her remains on April 5th. The close of a case that has drawn intense community interest and even volunteer search parties, a mixed bag of emotions for police. Investigators were glad to bring closure to the family, but the Tallahassee Police Department Chief Lawrence Revelle said at Tuesday interview with the Tallahassee Democrat that it's always excruciating to confirm the murder of a child. There's sadness certainly in proving that we thought to be true, Revelle said. Anytime a 12-year-old is killed, there's great sadness, but there's pride in the work that was well done. Lori's father, Andrew Wiley, 36, was arrested Friday and is facing a charge of second-degree murder. Revelle said as the state attorney's office prepares for Wiley's trial, detectives have pretty much pursued every avenue, and don't anticipate. Oh my gosh. Really? This man is disgusting. How could you impregnate your own daughter? You're just disgusting, sick motherfucker. Like, like he just makes me want to throw up. Like, I can feel it rising about my stomach, this vile, sick fuck. Recently released court records shine new light on a 22-month investigation which detailed a troubled home life for the child involving likely abuse. An under-redacted report inadvertently uploaded to the clerk of court's site noted that there was likely abuse of Page occurring, which may have been of a sexual nature. A version released later redacted that detail. A Tallahassee police detective spokesperson said it was done in accordance to Florida law that protects identities of sexual assault victims. In a court appearance Saturday, Andrew was assigned a public defender. He has not yet issued a plea, but an online fundraiser on his behalf since taken down from GoFundMe allude to unspecified untruth coming from Tallahassee police. The platform has said administrators prohibited fundraisers for the legal defense of violent crimes, but the one on his behalf aimed to raise $100,000 for his defense, not only to free Andrew, but to find the person who really murdered Lori. and get her real justice. No, this sick fuck really killed his own daughter. Why wasn't this sick bastard looking for her if he didn't murder her? Why did his phone ping at her location? This motherfucker is crazy. He needs his ass kicked in jail and maybe stabbed up a couple of times. Sick bastard. Putting handcuffs on Andrew was a moment months in the making for Tallahassee police detective. In the making, he should have been arrested and suspected the first time that she went missing. She should not have been labeled a runaway. Why was she labeled a runaway? It makes no sense. Her father reported Lori, who lived with him at the time, missing in June 2023. Law enforcement exhausted numerous options over the months trying to locate her, including posting billboards in multiple states and conducting grid searches in areas of West Tallahassee where she was last seen. While the case was intermittently lulls with no new leads, multiple detectives keyed in on Andrew's behavior during interviews. They made note in his probable cause affidavit that he did not appear to be sad or concerned. Thank you. His demeanor remained the same. On any occasion, he discussed Lori's disappearance with him because he didn't give a fuck, because he's a sick-minded individual. He has mental problems. Revelle said detectives checked and rechecked hundreds of leads, including multiple potential sightings of Lori in various cities and states that all turned up to be dead ends. It was following up on old leads that started to crack the case. Evidence started to point in one direction. Then you certainly start on honing in on those inconsistencies that Andrew's story certainly had. Of course, that's why he should have been the suspect from the beginning. According to the affidavit, Andrew began to mix up his story, contracting information he's previously provided in regard to various dates, his whereabouts, and with whom he discussed Lori's disappearance. People that are telling the truth typically don't have problems retelling the truth. People who are telling lies really have a hard time keeping all those straight. As the Tallahassee Police Department acquired more warrants to search Andrew's phone, car, and home, more evidence came to light that Andrew was likely the suspect. No duh, Charlotte. In February of 2024, a search of Andrew's car, police found a loaded gun, car cleaning fluid, cleaning brush, passenger seat upholstery, a cutout from the carpet, and more. According to the affidavit, the cleaner's description mentions it's capable of cleaning blood. Detective used a bioluminescent spray that positively detected Lori's blood in various spots in the car that police say he used to travel to Thomas County to dispose of her remains. Yo, don't tell me he killed that little girl in his car. Credit card transactions revealed that the day before he reported Lori's disappearance, Andrews purchased a one-way ticket to Puerto Rico out of Jacksonville International Airport. For unknown reasons, he never boarded the flight and returned to Tallahassee. Maybe because he thought they were never going to find her, you know? Searches of his phone also rounded up queries of internet searches like where do police look to find missing kids. The phone pings tracked his entire journey to Georgia, where he ultimately dumped Lori's body during the affidavit. The cell phone led detectives to the spot in the Georgia woods where Lori's remains were found. Officers had searched there before, but it wasn't until a tongue-tied, controlled burn cleared some of the underbrush, but they were able to recover anything. Up until that point, circumstantially, Tallahassee Police Department had everything they needed to make an arrest, but they wanted to make sure a trial would end in a conviction. Police said the discovery of the bones that matched her DNA was the final piece of the puzzle. I say all the time, God's got a plan. Yes, he does. Adding that investigators will be returning to the woods to search more remains. While each of the officers closed the case had their own hunches and personal beliefs from the beginning, the hunch can't affect how the case is investigated. If you rely too heavily on that, you're going to miss something. The department received negative feedback on how Lori's case was handled. For some in the community, Lori's mother, any criticism in this case is unwarranted. Point of review of the case by multiple agencies include the FBI, who checked Tallahassee Police Department's operation to ensure they hadn't missed anything. The FBI was impressed with the Tallahassee Police efforts, and they didn't have any other recommendation for paths Tallahassee should take. In the process of the investigation, however, the agency learned a few lessons, a major one being labeled of missing children. In the past, Tallahassee Police Department occasionally classified children as runaways. Lori, a Griffin Middle School student, had always had a history of running away, but it wasn't habitual, and she was found the next day, according to court records. Using this language provided by the problematic, because the wording could cause people, including detectives and the community, to dismiss a missing child case under the false pretense, and that is less serious. I'm just glad they found this baby.
Lori Page was a missing young girl in Tallahassee, Florida. Her parents did not even help search for her. Several people, angels among us, in the Tallahassee, Florida area went on a search for her and have been searching for her for almost 2 years. On Friday, Lori Page's father was arrested in her unaliving. Her remains were found in Georgia near the Alabama line. Tallahassee police say he unalived her on June 1st and then dumped her body in Thomas County, Georgia. Investigators shared that purchases Andrew Wiley had made indicate there was abuse of a sexual nature. Andrew Wiley remains in the Leon County, Florida jail without bond. Margaret Summers, a parapro at Lori Page's school, is the one who really started the search for her when her family would not. Thank you to Margaret Summers and Patty's Playhouse for bringing awareness.
So, y'all remember 12-year-old Lori Page that went missing almost like 2 years ago? The dad has been arrested. I knew the dad had something to do with that because the story just didn't sit right with me. But let's get into it. Y'all remember 2 years ago when the story about Lori was missing was all over the FYP. The dad called the police, told the police he worked overnight. When he come home from work, the daughter was gone. She left overnight with a backpack. That was a red flag, right? Yo, the police was interviewing the dad for like over a year. And they noticed his stories always was switching up. So they started looking more into the dad. That is when they confiscated his cell phone. And inside of the cell phone, in a search bar on Google, they found that he was searching big fields, bodies of waters, how to get rid of a body and stuff like that, right? So the police immediately knew that was a red flag, right? Then they go searching and they find out that the relationship that the dad and the daughter had was quite strange. Really strange. So that was a red flag, of course, right? So y'all, come to find out, they say he was searching like Alabama, Georgia field areas. They found the baby remains a few days ago in a plantation area where the police had searched many times, but they never found anything there. So you mean to tell me he had this baby body this long time, wherever he had it at, to now he decided to get rid of it, and that's where he put her remains at? Y'all, this is a sad case. This is a sad situation, and I'm glad the mom is able to get closure, but I don't know what happened or what took place that the daughter was staying with the dad, because they were saying she was really unhappy with staying with her dad. No telling what that child been through, the drama, everything. But y'all let me know in the comments. And that's all I had to say, friends. Y'all stay safe out there.